Welcome to the Wise podcast, hosted by me, Kate Conway, and kindly sponsored by ID Verde. They are the UK and Europe's leading provider of grounds maintenance services and landscape creation projects. They actively engage with social enterprises to build them into their supply chain. I'm delighted today to be joined by Tara Mullan, who is from Refuge Chocolate. So Tara, Refuge Chocolate?
Yeah.
We had a conversation on the phone yesterday, because I speak to everybody before we record the podcast so I can sort of figure out, right, what do you do and what are you about? And I make all the notes and stuff. But after speaking to you yesterday, I was like, right, okay, because I rang you. I looked at the Instagram and beautiful photographs of gorgeous hot chocolate with marshmallows and everything. And I thought, oh, and that's what was in my head when I rang you. But actually, the message behind what you do is a lot deeper. And so let's start with that, actually. Okay. So if you want to talk about what Refuge supports.
So the whole why behind Refuge, before the products and tastes amazing and all that sort of thing, is human trafficking. I, for many years now, have volunteered with a local anti-human trafficking charity called Flourish NI. And the only anti-human trafficking charity in Northern Ireland to provide long-term support for survivors of human trafficking. So what that looks like in a practical sense is people come to them, whether it's referrals from the police, through Women's Aid, through the Welcome Centre, wherever. People have heard in the radio, even about Flourish and come that way. And they come and Flourish acts as either a referral service, or if the skills are there in-house with Flourish, the clients are assessed and whatever help that is required is given.
Okay, so what kind of help might that be?
So it could be very sort of practical help, with housing, with benefits, with food, with finding dentists, finding schools. A lot of the clients, English isn't their first language. They're maybe, Eastern European, Chinese, all over the world really. So they need a lot of help with that sort of just everyday stuff that you and I would take for granted. And then more then legal side of things with maybe court cases and lawyers and that sort of heavier stuff as well. And then Flourish also does the groundwork, but works at a government level as well, petitioning and raising issues and sits in different boards, that sort of way, to bring the general awareness to that sort of level at a legal change, not just a on the ground sort of change as well.
And I imagine also these are people who are dealing with the after effects of trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Away from their home and community, and so there's that aspect as well.
Yeah.
So, how did you go from, before you started Refuge, what were you doing?
So I have no food background whatsoever.
Okay.
I studied fine and applied art at University of Ulster in Belfast, and I suppose that's where the sort of eye for creativity and design maybe comes from. And creativity is a great tool for problem solving, which is required many's a time and every day in business and all sorts of occasions. So that's great. Before Refuge, I was working on another social enterprise. It was called Doodlebugs Creative Workshops. So it was arts and craft workshops, mainly for kids, and it was about personal development and life skills and using everyday and recycled items to make weird and wonderful toys and inventions and things like that. So that's before Refuge, and then Refuge basically came about because of the volunteering I was doing with Flourish and wanting to see Flourish more sustainable. I suppose from a charity that requires a lot on funding, a lot on donations, I just thought, this is too important a thing that if that wasn't happening, how is this entity going to be sustained? So I suppose I went to work unintentionally, I think. Life is just a funny thing, and weaving episodes and stories and situations together, that you just come to a place and a time, and this was a crossroads that, Tara, you could do this or you could do other things. And I think it wasn't a conscious thing, but I think it just sort of happened naturally, that I started thinking in the back of my head about, what about these ideas of what could work for, you know, something that would help sustain, flourish. And obviously having that social enterprise background, I'm a very cause-driven person, and I always want to be involved in something, buy something, do something because of the cause, not because of what it looks like or who represents it or whatever. So I thought social enterprise would work as a good sort of model. I had a few sort of ideas that I batted about in my head. One of them was like a healthy dinner party where I like came to your house and spoke to your friends and made your dinner and sort of talked about what I was making and stuff. So I think I tried it once or twice and it just didn't feel like a fit. And then I was driving along the road one day, and I suppose when I'm behind the wheel of the car, I find that I'm quite thoughtful, you know, having different ideas and working stuff through, processing things. So I was driving along, and literally the word refuge and hot chocolate, literally out of nowhere, just dropped into my head. And I was like, whoa, I nearly put on the brakes of the car sort of thing. Like, whoa, where did this?
What's that?
Yeah, it was like a divine, I'm a Christian, so I firmly believe it was God. Just out of nowhere. It was so clear. And to this day, like, I can't think really of anything else in my life that has been as clear as that. And I thought, flip, what is this? So I went home and sort of started looking online and researching recipes and things. I wouldn't have been a big tea or coffee drinker, so I always would have had hot chocolates, whether it was on holidays, all about Northern Ireland, all about UK and Europe, wherever I was going. So it would always been hot chocolate. So I knew what a good one was. And then I'd been skiing in Italy, and I had a hot chocolate, and I was like, whoa, like, this is a game changer. This was way before Refuge. This is a game changer, but it was logged in my head that you know, that was the bar that I was trying to meet.
At no point when you had that in Italy all those years ago did you think,
no, not at all.
this is
not
my
at
future?
all. So that was the bar that I was trying to meet. So I knew when I was making the recipes and trying it out in friends and stuff that was what sort of thing I was looking for, the level I was looking for. So I came to a recipe that I'd made up, and people loved it. It was thick liquid chocolate in a jar. It needed to be refrigerated because it was made with cream, and you could heat it up, eat it hot, eat it straight out of the jar cold.
Sounds great.
Drizzle it,
I wouldn't
do
even use
whatever.
a spoon.
No,
Yeah.
do whatever you want with it. So the issue with it was it needed to be refrigerated. So that was an issue because trying to get into shops and things like that, there's not a lot of shops, especially the smaller ones that have a lot of fridge space. And then use before and all is an issue because, you know, it can't be kept a long time. So I started trying to think, flip, how is this going to progress sort of thing? So I got a wee bit of help with Invest NI and the University of Ulster to try and work out sort of the science behind that. But it didn't sort of come to anything. So then I continued experiments on my own, and basically it sort of moved from a liquid to a powder and ground chocolate sort of form and solid chocolate sort of form that you add your own liquid. So basically the recipe that we have today so I have this one here, this is our blend. So it's literally ground down chocolate. So this is just what I started with originally, the original hot chocolate, just without the liquid in it. And then we have this here, this is our melt. So these are like solid chocolate shapes, but again, it's exactly the same thing in this and this, so it would make up exactly the same hot chocolate. So again, this, if you follow our recipes on the back and make it up like we suggest, this will make the jar that we originally had.
Okay.
So from that, it's grown to like, you know, brownie recipe kits, chocolate spread, different flavours of hot chocolates. I brought you a sample today. I've been like, always try different things like mallows and different wee sort of quirky chocolates and things like that. So that's a wee sample of our
Me twice.
rhubarb and custard.
Oh, lovely.
Mallow.
And there's a chocolate coffee.
Yeah, chocolate coffee
as well.
So always trying to come up with new ideas, push things forward. And obviously, you know, different times of the year, different things sort of sell better. So starting off as a hot chocolate company, I needed to sort of move into what else can I do.
Beautiful.
Nice.
I'm getting the rhubarb now.
Yeah. Go well with a wee gin, I thought.
Yes,
We
it
sort of
will.
light.
I have none right now, but I will keep that for later.
Are you sure it's not in that cup?
No, I promise it's water. So you've quite a range. So
Yeah.
where are they sold, or is it all online?
Well, we have a website, www.refugechocolate.co.uk. We originally started off as Refuge Hot Chocolate and then rebranded there in December as Refuge Chocolate, just to sort of encompass the whole range of stuff that we're doing now. And we sell, there's, you know, lists of shops on the website of places we sell. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, see what we're at, see where we're selling. We sell to wholesale, to shops, we sell online on our website, we sell on other people's websites, we sell at farmers markets, and also sort of private orders to like big corporates for gifting and that sort of side of things as well.
So where do you see the future for Refuge? Do you have sort of a plan, or do you think you'll just get each step as you need it?
Yeah, I suppose from the get-go, it was always trying to provide refuge as a tool for people that have been trafficked specifically. And there's sort of two strands to that we do put money back into Flourish to sustain that work, but I've always wanted to try and strengthen more Refuge as a tool and an opportunity for people who've been trafficked to use it to gain whatever experience, whatever confidence, whatever they sort of need to help them fulfill their dreams and hopes and plans, which is amazing. And especially at the minute, I've just secured our first commercial property, which is great. So I've been in the house up until now, which is crazy because like I've had dealings with like Aldi and Lidl and stuff like that, and it's people don't know, like it's literally me. It looks like a big song and dance, and it's literally me in the house. And if I need to get like family or friends in, especially like it's crazy busy, like especially over October, November, December there during lockdown, it was absolutely manic. You're sending out thousands and kilograms of chocolate, and I'm sure the neighbours must think it's an interesting situation. But yeah, it's done me until now. We do have two separate kitchens in the house, so I operate out of one of those. But yeah, the commercial property, I was keen to stay still in East Belfast because Flourish is located in East Belfast, and the people have been trafficked. The clients are just used to coming to that area, so it needed to be sort of close enough that they can sort of access. So it's going to be amazing having the new property to both expand and have space to sort of move and stuff, but particularly for the people who've been trafficked to come and get involved in whatever way they feel. Obviously, you touched on the trauma side of things, which is insane. Like you or I or nobody could even start to imagine what trauma that the people have gone through. And I'm sure we'll get into the human trafficking side of things a wee bit, but they need to start to build some sort of confidence. And what do they want their future to look like when that's their hopes and dreams have been stolen from them? We need to start to let's try and help you get back up and running and functioning in some sort of shape or form, and start helping you do that for you and for your family and for your family and friends and moving forward, because I suppose human trafficking, it doesn't just affect the person, it affects that whole circle, affects generations after them because of the trauma and the knock-on effects of what's going on with them that's maybe going to be passed on. And
then they are now members of our community. So we need to help them, just welcome them.
Totally. And they have so much to give, like there's so many skills, and like people think they're people that are stupid and that's been taken advantage of, and it's so not. Like we have doctors, that have been trafficked.
Right.
It's not
doctors.
Yeah, doctors, like doctors. And it's that, and they do like obviously some of them don't speak English or don't speak it greatly, but it's amazing how quick they pick it up. And it's funny, especially if they have kids, the kids will be speaking like in a few months with even a Northern Irish accent, which is really strange. Like there's these Syrian kids or African kids and what, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is a bit weird. And then they're trying to translate for the parents, which can become a wee bit awkward because like kids shouldn't be involved in having to translate things that solicitors are saying or things that doctors are saying, or like that becomes an issue at the same time.
So what sort of age then, if you're saying there's kids, but I mean, so Flourish work with children too?
They work with, say, adults, but obviously with those adults there are kids that are coming with that. And especially now, human trafficking, it does affect children. Like there is loads of children that are affected by it. Because if you look at the care homes, like how many care homes and how many kids that that have had to step away from their families or be taken away from their families, like they're so vulnerable. So basically, it's vulnerable people that are open to be affected by human trafficking because, like for example, the children's side of things, like somebody could be like, an adult could start coming alongside them and giving them sweets, giving them a mobile phone, picking them up from school. It's all that sort of learn and trying to get somebody's confidence. And then next thing you know, they've been, car doors been locked, they've been bundled off the airport, and that's that, you
No
know.
way.
Yeah, so it's vulnerable people. It's not stupid people. Like I mentioned it to you, like there's one girl in particular, an African girl, she's a doctor. She's not a stupid girl by any means. And like she was just in a vulnerable position. And you or I, at any stage, you know, could be in a vulnerable position where, you know, you're just not in your own head or you're not confident or whatever situation you're in. And it could happen to any of us at any time.
And I think it doesn't even really matter what, you know, whether they're stupid, as you say, or not.
No.
You know, that's not the issue. It's just this is a person who
Yeah.
has been taken from where they should have been. And I was sort of thinking about it last night, and I was thinking, yeah, because I've seen posters, I've seen billboard posters about human trafficking, and I've seen, you know, posters in workplaces, and I've seen sort of the anti-slavery things sometimes on terms and conditions or whatever. And you kind of go, yeah, but I think in my head I have sort of, in a way, blocked it out. I'm ashamed to say that, but I'm saying it because that's what, you know, I imagine maybe a lot of people are doing the same thing as me, because I'm someone who cares about a lot of different, you know, ambassadors for different things and whatever. But that's something I think, because it's not in our eye line, whereas if I'm in a, you know, I do a lot of work with Action Cancer or whatever, and that's something, you know, I can kind of, that's something I kind of have a bit more experience with. But this is something I think is hard for people at all to sort of go, right, I need to learn about that because it's so horrific.
Yeah.
So can you give us a bit of a picture of the situation in Northern Ireland?
Yeah.
Because I imagine a lot of people are like, it's not here, that's over there.
Yeah.
But it's not.
No, totally. Like, I suppose, like I said, I would do farmers markets and stuff, and because I'm there and you're seeing people face to face, and they're like, oh, but it's not really happening in Northern Ireland, is it? And I'm like, no, hang on, now hold on there a wee second. Like, Northern Ireland is rife with it, because even if you think of Northern Ireland from a geographical point of view, like, there's access from all sorts of ports. You can come up through Dublin, the airports, you can come in through Belfast from the airports, you can come in through the fishing ports. And like, I don't mean like necessarily just the big fishing ports. Like, I'm thinking about Killaloe, Kilkeel, you know, Portaferry. Like, you know, there's so many inlets to Northern Ireland that there's just no control and movement, and you can go out anywhere. So it's the prime location for that sort of thing. Like, there's massive sort of statistics, like worldwide, first of all, and then we'll come down to Northern Ireland. Like, worldwide, there's over 40 million people in slavery today.
40 million?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's because obviously slavery was abolished back years and years ago.
Oh, so we think, yes.
Yeah, William Wilberforce. Yeah. But like right today, like, and that keeps on increasing, obviously, because the thing about human trafficking is a person can be sold over and over and over again. Drugs can't, weapons can't, but a person can be sold. They can be sold for sex trafficking. They can be sold for jobs. So they could be working in a fishery, or they could be working in a cannabis factory. They could then be, if somebody is sick or whatever's going on with them, they just aren't keeping up to speed, and the person that's trafficking them feels that, then like, the awful thing is organ harvesting. So literally selling people's organs. So there's just so many ways to make profit out of a person. And coming then to Northern Ireland, like year on year over the last few years, the rate of human trafficking has been doubling in Northern Ireland. And a few years ago it was reported that Northern Ireland has the highest growing rate of sex trafficking in the whole of Europe.
Okay.
And you think, like, it's ridiculous when you think the size.
Yeah,
the size.
tiny.
And you're thinking, you know, where is this going on? I don't see it. Like, I suppose I'll try to paint a picture of where it could be. If you go to a car wash, you know, how many people are washing those cars? What's going on? Like, there's been stories about if you put cash in the dash, that's a sign that you're looking more than a car wash.
Right.
There's lots of beauty parlours we have now. There's loads. Northern Ireland, massive for agriculture, massive for fishing, that you just don't know. And it's very hard, I suppose, to oversee those industries and keep tabs on who's involved and the people behind it and whatnot. But there's so many opportunities for that to be happening.
And they blend in.
Yeah. And especially if you can't speak English, if you can't speak your voices. So that's why we need to be the voice for the people that don't have a voice. And that's what I'm passionate about. And I suppose it's the freedom side of things. Like, I feel And I suppose, you know, within Western society in general, you know, we are so free, I mean, the majority, that people deserve freedom. It's a human right.
We didn't even know
it's
we're
a United
free.
Nations human right, and the bill that it's law that we should be free. And I suppose in my background, like it's ironic that I run essentially a chocolate company now, because for years, from I was about 10, 11 until I was 21, I suffered from anorexia and bulimia, which is soul destroying, and it rips you apart, and you feel so stuck in your own body that you just can't do anything about it, yet you're trying to control it so much. It's just a whole mix of feelings that I know, me feeling the freedom of being freed from that, how that feels, and how much more that would feel for people who've been trafficked. And as well as that, like not just the eating disorder side of things, I'm gay and I'm Christian, so like I've struggled with lots of freedom issues, and I suppose people look at me and think, oh my goodness, she's just able to wear what she wants, be herself and things, but it just doesn't happen. You know, you have to personally fight for it, but if you don't have a voice and you can't speak a language, you need people that have a voice and can speak a language that are going to fight for you. And I believe that that's what I've been called to do. But I believe that everybody has a thing, you know, and my thing's human trafficking. And I didn't think it was a thing. Like I just thought, oh, I'm just going to get involved in this charity because it's nice to help people and give back. And I thought, I don't really feel inspired or G'd on because I don't think this is my thing. But it was very quickly when I saw the faces to these statistics that I was literally felt like an arrow through the heart that, and you were just getting emotional, and I just couldn't understand why. And I think that's what it was, because of the freedom that I've been freed from and sought in my past and the journey I've had, that I want to see people fully who they're meant to be. And with Refuge as a tool, moving forward, that's my biggest ambition, is to, I don't want to put agendas like Refuge is going to do this or is going to do this. It's a tool for people that need it to come and be themselves and find themselves and learn how to express that, whether it's continuing long-term as part of Refuge, whether it's going and doing their own thing. Like especially at the minute, there's one girl in particular within Flourish, and she's really passionate about cooking, and she's been doing we start fundraising things on the side, you know, making stuff like of her native food that she's always been brought up making, that she wants to sort of share that with the world. So she's been doing wee fundraising things, but obviously transitioning that from what does that look like in Northern Ireland and becoming a business, making that sustainable. Like what does that look like? Yeah, how do I do that? And it's great. Like there's loads of business programs that people can go on in Northern Ireland and that I've been on myself. But sometimes like I am just a practical learner. Like throw me into a kitchen and I need to see. And especially if English isn't your first language, and especially if you're coming from a different culture, you know, Northern Ireland and the UK and Europe, I suppose in general, is so, especially around food, is so precise, so clinical, that if that's not just the background that you've come from in your country, like I don't know how you're going to transition unless you say, right, that is what it looks like here. That's what I sort of need to take the steps to. So with this new commercial property that I have, that particular girl, she'd be one of the first ones that'll be in, and she's so keen. Like she keeps on asking about, you know, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? It's like, oh, it takes time. So it's that sort of side of things. And I suppose moving forward, that'll be hard for me to juggle. Is it's a chocolate company, and you know, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory needs to keep on happening, but the whole point of it is the people, and it's trying to strike that balance of how does that happen and move forward. But things work out, and you take one step at a time and see what happens.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
So in terms of next steps, I imagine you'd like to make connections with people. Obviously, Flourish need volunteers.
Yeah, Flourish are always looking for volunteers, and it's great. I said about the farmers markets before there, like quite a few of our volunteers have come because I've been, you know, just chatting like you about what's going on in Northern Ireland and human trafficking, and people are just like, oh my goodness, like so shocked, because it could be you or me that's trafficked, it could be our sisters, our brothers, our mums, our dads, it could be anybody at any stage, you know, and people are just shocked that it's going on, because it's so undercover. You don't necessarily see it, and that's how things spread, is in the dark, and human trafficking just is rife because it's kept in the dark, kept secret, and spreading. So Flourish, always looking volunteers, and I think people get scared, like, oh my goodness, like I'm not a clinical psychologist, I can't be a volunteer.
What they need.
No, like they do need people like that, especially at the minute. There's 2 openings for new caseworkers. So if you're interested in that, contact Flourish. You can find them online and whatnot. And then, like, there's very basic things like befriending. We have loads of clients. I don't even know the number now. I'm sure it's well over 100. And with those clients, like, there's families. So although we call them one client, they could have like 5 in a family. So befriending, like going for a walk with somebody, going for a cup of tea, like these people just need to get out of their own head, and especially with coronavirus and everything, like they need to get out of the house as well, and out of their situation, and think and breathe and about other stuff other than the trauma and the situation that they've been through and they're going through. So befriending is great. Anybody that has anybody really that, you know, just contact Flourish and they'll assess you. They'll look at, you know, what's your skills, what's your background, what's your job at the minute, what sort of hours you have to give up, and like there's volunteers in there that are taking sewing classes. There's other people that are taking like cooking classes. There's people that are business mentors. There's people that are counsellors, life coaches, have marketing backgrounds, have teaching backgrounds. Anybody, like even the physical side of things, like obviously, you know, keeping fit and getting out and about, healthy life, healthy mind, healthy eating, is a big thing. So like people, I know some of the clients have been online doing like Zoom exercise classes. Anybody that can take football, like there's loads of clients.
Wide range of skills.
Yeah, anybody. It's like a mini sort of community that if you think any of Northern Ireland or any group of people, like everybody has different sort of attributes and interests and whatnot, so literally you can be used for anything. It's just a matter of getting in contact.
Okay, and regarding Refuge the Chocolate itself, what kind of people or businesses would you like to link up with then?
I suppose I want to always encourage people and use Refuge to do it is it's an ethical product, so everything that we do is as ethical as possible, from the ingredients to the packaging to the processing. And I want to encourage people to, wherever you're buying chocolate from, wherever you're buying food from, wherever you're buying clothes from, think about where it's come from, who's made it, the processes it's been through. So, you know, things cost that price for a reason. And if they're silly low prices,
like cheap clothes,
you need to consider where's that been from, and your ethics around that. And yeah, just consider that. So look at buying better stuff that people are going to have been treated well, that you can look into the companies that you can. It's great nowadays, obviously, social media, because stuff will come up very quickly if there's some underhand business about something going on, which is great. So I suppose I'm always looking for different people, different outlet shops or whatever that are looking to sell Refuge, coffee shops that are looking to do it. So coffee shop
could sell it made up.
Yeah, coffee shop can sell it made up.
Pouches. Yeah, okay.
And they can also have the retail side of it going on, wee delis or things like that. I know there's lots of like coffee vans, coffee carts, obviously there's different sort of entertainment places and everything opening now after Corona that serve coffee, hot chocolate, chocolate spread, anything. It's great on pancakes, great on waffles, great on a spoon out of the jar.
Tell me more than the fact that it is chocolate.
And then online, I suppose, as well, on our website. And there's other websites that stock it too. But I suppose probably for a flavour of what we do at Refuge, the website's good. So refugechocolate.co.uk. And then the Instagram and Facebook pages as well, if you follow.
And people can contact you through that.
And
stay up to date as well. Tara, you've been so just so open and honest with with just your story. It's mind blowing, and I'm really I don't know. I feel I was kind of very much like, oh gosh, this is just the subject is just so something that I'm out of my depth with in a way, because it's something I haven't really learned enough about, but I'm going to. And now that, you definitely, and hopefully through this, then other people will do the same thing. So I just want to thank you so much for doing that, for sharing your story as part of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if I just leave everybody with the last note of, if you suspect something's going on at any stage on your street, if there's houses that have the curtains closed, there's people coming all day and night, if you're at a car wash, if you're at a beautician's, if you're anywhere and you suspect something's going on, always ask another question. Don't just leave it, because like I said, that could be your sister, it could be your brother. We need to be the voice for the people that don't have one.
Thank you. Join me next week when I'll be chatting to Philip Dean from Resurgam. Thanks again to Tara Mullan from Refuge Chocolate, and also to ID Verde, our sponsor. If you're a social enterprise and you'd like to find out more about opportunities to work with ID Verde, please contact Amanda at Social Enterprise NI.